All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 3:30 to 4:25 panel, Innovating in the Sport Space. So if you're looking for that, you're in the right spot. If not, time now to leave, but no one will judge you. But thank you for being here and hanging in both days. Hope you've enjoyed yourself. I'm going to pass it off to our panel, and we'll take it from here.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for joining us. My name is Symon Perriman. I am the president and founder of Streamlined. I'll tell you a little bit about our company first, but what we're basically going to be covering in this session is everything about sports innovation. So we picked 5 companies that kind of do different technologies. I'm in fan engagement. We have Sati, who is in digital technology, and then we have 3 product guys that have built very different physical goods. So let's start down at the end. Why don't you kick it off? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your company, and yeah, go ahead.
All right. Hey everyone. So again, my name is Sati Hillier. I'm the founder and CEO of One Mob, and a little bit about myself. Before starting One Mob, I actually spent a lot of time in selling roles, a variety of different selling roles, and most recently worked at Salesforce.com, which is a pretty well-known CRM. And after spending about 8 years there, decided to go on my own and build a platform that really is leveraging video. So all of you guys have one of these in your pocket, maybe even 2 of them. And basically what we're trying to do is help you take that consumer trend of using video to connect with your family and friends, but bring it to the business. And so we make it very easy for you to create video content, share it, and then track it. And so a lot of sports teams use us because they're not selling tickets anymore, they're selling the experience, and video helps you capture that.
Great, thank you, Bob. Go ahead.
My name is Bart, and I am the VP of Marketing for Streamlined Socks. It's a athletic apparel sock company. We started out in 2009. 2 guys started with $700 to their name, and started making socks with city skylines on them. And then we slowly started picking up licenses and working with athletes. My sole responsibility is all the endorsements, partnerships, and digital media that you see come out of Streamlined, whether it's Instagram or website or social media. So I control all those relationships that we work with, and then and I've been with the company since day one. Jake and Riley, who are the co-founders, founded in 2009, and I was the first hire. And in the past 5 years, we've grown from 3 people to over 150 employees.
And Bob, what did you do before Streamlined?
Before Streamlined, I started a few websites in college, worked in apparel companies and a few streetwear brands for their marketing efforts, digital strategy, and just web development.
Thank you. Jay, can you tell us a little bit about AxeBat and your background?
Yeah. Hi, Jay Helmick, Senior Vice President of AxeBat. Our mission, well, a little background on myself, been with the parent company of AxeBat, Baden Sports, for about 10 years in various roles in the sporting good industry, and prior to that in steel manufacturing, so a very different world. Here at AxeBat, our goal is to manufacture and create the world's best bat for the player's swing. Very early on in our company's history, we identified that the round knob that's on the traditional baseball bat is a very inefficient, really horrific shape as it relates to the baseball swing. So after a lot of R&D and research, the result was something that looks not too dissimilar to an axe handle. And so fast forward to today, and we have some variations to this in a line of T-ball bats from our line of baseball bats from T-ball up through high school and college. fast pitch softball, slow pitch softball. We probably had about 54 players use it in Major League Baseball this year. Our top 2 pros, Mookie Betts and George Springer, are playing right now as we speak. So if you see me sneak off to check a score, that's why. But we've had some great feedback, continuing to learn about the benefits, and it's been pretty exciting run for the last 3 years.
Thanks. And Carsten, tell us a little bit about Stride.
Hi there, my name is Carson Winsness with Stride Tech. So we're very interested in quantifying human performance, so mainly on the field. So when you're performing activity, we like to look at gas in the tank. So how much gas did you start with, how much are you spending at the current moment, and how much did you end with, and then how does that trigger, or how does that go day in and day out, and how do you recover from that? And so we built some smart compression clothing that tracks really advanced biometrics. We can correlate that all and give you kind of efficiency or fatigue score based on that activity you just performed. And then we can help you with future training and recovery methods as well. We work with all the professional teams, college teams as well. And from my background, I come from a computer science background. I came from a medical company that was just sold to Johnson & Johnson. So in that role, we did peer review for surgeons. So we sent video from one operating room to another. The other surgeon gave it a grade and sent it back. So in this role, we're just doing very similar things, getting biometric data off athletes, bringing it in, and then sending back a bunch of report cards and updates that they can take advantage of.
Great, thank you. So again, I'm Simon, president and founder of FanWide. We're the world's largest fan club network. And so we help out-to-market sports fans find a local game watch party for any team in any city. So basically you can use our app or website, tell us your favorite team, we show you where to go and meet up with other fans. And when you get to a sports bar, you can then check in to get rewards. We are going to be rolling out with a cryptocurrency soon that I'll talk about a little later. And you can redeem that for apparel, free drinks, things like that. And then we collect a lot of data on people. In the last year, we've promoted over 500,000 events for 13,000 fan clubs at about 10,000 bars around the country. And we track TV viewership at all of these sports bars. So one of the big challenges that we've identified in the whole sports industry is declining TV viewership. You probably heard all the leagues are losing viewers, so we're now tracking them in sports bars around the country. My background, I was a computer science economics major. I then moved out to Seattle about 12 years ago to work for Microsoft. That's when I started trying to go find my favorite sports team, Duke Blue Devils. Found it was hard, found it was really disorganized, and saw that there was an opportunity to help connect people from every team in every city. So I think across the background we do have some technical people, some non-technical people as well. I guess the next question I want to ask people is, tell us a little bit more about your brand. Specifically, what are the main teams and athletes which are using it? And I'll go first this time. Our first brand ambassador that we recently signed is Cliff Averill from the Seattle Seahawks. So he's an investor, he's an advisor, a brand ambassador, and he's actually coming to a couple of our watch parties this season. So we did one a couple of weeks ago with him at the Top of Columbia Tower. If you want to go hang out with him, and he'll even take shots with you, he's a cool guy. Go check out our app and come to our next watch party. Who wants to take it next?
Sure. We don't talk specifically about what teams we work with, but we do work with the NBA, NFL, and a bunch of college as well. Launching an MLB next year as well. So lots of good content there.
We work with organizations at all levels, from youth up to MLB. As I alluded to, Mookie Betts, hopefully this year's MVP, is one of our lead indoor seeds, along with George Springer, last year's World Series MVP. But we make custom handles for Giancarlo Stanton and Dustin Pedroia and a variety of other MLB players. We also have some good partnerships at the collegiate ranks, both in terms of exclusive colleges and really partnerships that are more on the research and development standpoint and helping us accumulate data, consume data.
Yeah, we have a lot of long-standing partnerships just from guys wearing our socks on the field. It's pretty easy once they step into a Strideline sock for them to reach out and want to get their own or get their own custom made. So Marshawn Lynch is probably our longest standing partner. We just did, if you check our Instagram, a campaign of him talking about socks and how deathly afraid he is of chinchillas because their socks are just as soft as them. You can check out those videos on our Instagram. And then Doug Baldwin was one of the first true players we did a sock with. before we got any licenses. Nate Robinson, also just an NBA basketball legend here in Seattle, we've done stuff with. And then outside of Seattle, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham, a few of the biggest receivers in the league wear our socks. And then our partnerships with the NCAA, NBA PA, and NFL PA really help facilitate a lot more partnerships. Great people over there in those organizations that help reach out and get new guys for us.
Great, yeah. So we actually sell primarily to a couple of verticals: high tech, financial services, and sports. So sports kind of started a couple of years ago. Our first sports client was Sacramento Kings. We worked closely with Phil Horn, who's the sales leader over there. And again, for us, we wanted to really just make it very easy for any seller in any industry to just connect more effectively with their audience. Sports just really seemed to take off quite well because you guys sell such cool stuff, right? You guys got this great experience, you create memories, you have awesome arenas, awesome players, coaches, etc. So from there, it all started to kind of just snowball, and now we have probably, I want to say, more than 20 or so teams across all the different major leagues. So not just the NBA, MLB, NFL, MLS. So teams include the Colorado Rapids, who are here. We got the Nuggets, the 49ers, the Oakland A's, the New York Jets, the Marlins. So we are very open to all the different sports teams because, again, every team has something creative to offer. And it's great because we get to work very closely with all the sales folks, and they do some of the most amazing stuff. Like, we don't really work too much with the players, but they will they'll involve the players, or they'll involve the coaches, and then they'll use that content with prospective buyers. And I mean, think about it. Imagine if you guys got, a video from Pete Carroll. Like, how cool would that be? So our platform helps to facilitate that without having to involve marketing.
Awesome. So next question we have is about the innovation pipeline, how things have changed over time. So we're going to start with the physical goods, and I want to start with axe first. So tell us, what was the problem with traditional bats? Why did you guys feel that you had to build a better product? And I guess by a quick show of hands, anybody use axe bats, or anyone's kids, family use axe bats in the audience? Okay, got a couple out there. Okay, cool.
Yeah, well, we had a bunch of baseball fanatics interested in learning more about really the baseball swing and how the bat interacts with the baseball swing. And what we realized very quickly is that the traditional round knob, as I alluded to earlier, is just really a poor design. I don't know if everyone's aware, but it's somewhere around 10% of all Major League Baseball position players will eventually have their hamate bone, which is in this area, broken and surgically removed. So that's usually a process that could take 4 months, and that's 100% from the pounding the hand takes from the round knob. And the round knob in itself was a solution at one point in time. It really evolved because 150 years ago, the great game of baseball was taking off and the popularity was rising, more and more people wanted to play. And they realized pretty quickly that the ability to hand produce one bat at a time was probably not sustainable. So they turned to the technology that existed at that time, which was a wood lathe, very common manufacturing process at that time used to make table legs and stair spindles and things of that nature, and began turning bats on it. And it wasn't too long after that that Babe Ruth and Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams and all the greats were using this product, and really it became a part of tradition and never questioned. At AxeBat, while we respect that tradition, we're not restrained by it. We really looked at everything outside of the bat industry, frankly, in terms of getting input on what can make this product better, what are other sports, other technologies, industries, and actually fell on a different implement, that of an axe handle, and really looked at how that evolved over many years. We very quickly went into a variety of rapid prototyping, 3D modeling to get different types of shaped handles. Once we sort of found one that we felt made sense, we went into production and then commissioned a very well-known biomechanical professor at UCLA to conduct a study using Division I baseball players. That data really validated and substantiated all of our claims for the most part. We then expanded our technology relationships in really a different way than I think most traditional bat companies expand. They're looking at partnerships to help sell bats. We were really looking at partnerships that would help us understand the baseball swing and how to make the best bat for that swing. we had a few different partners. One, a local company actually called Driveline Baseball, is one of the leaders in training and using technology to understand kinetic sequencing and a variety of functions of the baseball swing. And then two other technology companies, one a motion capture company that's a sensor you put on the handle and really tracks all the movements of the bat during the swing. And then also HitTrax is the name of essentially a simulator that will tell you once you make contact with the ball, it'll give you exit velocity, launch angle, and a whole bunch of data that, when combined with the swing data of the sensor, really gave us a clear picture of what kind of product we needed to make to maximize performance for the player. At that point, we really started going into production, and what's been the most fun is really trying to predict outcomes, making product for those outcomes, getting our bats into the hands of the best players in the world, like Mookie Betts, like George Springer, and really trying to see what kind of results stem from their performance. Of all the 80 or so players who've used our bat in game, we have every swing metric that StatCast provides of every at bat. So we have all their player data of George Springer with a round knob versus George Springer with an axe handle bat. So that's really helped in terms of the highest level feedback we could substantiate, and continues to lead to our ongoing development.
So that's pretty interesting, so technology, well, the bats are 150 years old, you're using technology from a completely different industry, lumberjacking, let's say, and from that you're making a better product. So one that a lot of people are surprised that there's technology in is stride-line socks. I mean, people have been wearing socks for hundreds of years. So quick question, anyone in the room wear stride-line socks or have stride-line socks? Anyone got them on right now? All right, well, I'm representing, so I'm a big fan. These are my Seattle Supersonics socks. So they've got the skeletons of the former Seattle Supersonics on them. But it is a great product. I am a personal fan. So, Bart, tell us how we have evolved the sock industry.
Yeah, so when the socks first started, Jake and Riley, the co-founders, they just wanted to go for more of a design aspect. They literally just took whatever sock material they could find and put a skyline on it. And after a few years, other companies started knocking it off. Other people could easily make a sock with a skyline on it, so they wanted to focus more on quality and comfort and customization. So for the longest time, we would order in inventory, hope it would sell, and then sit on all this inventory that did not sell. And that was a big problem moving forward. So we made the sock more comfortable. We made a quality sock. People loved wearing it, but at the same time, we're still sitting on all this inventory that did not sell, regardless of how many people picked it up. And so over time, we built in our own systems in the back end where we offer a 3D rendering of whatever you want to see on your socks. So say, I don't know, say the Sonics do come back, hopefully. You get Sonics are back on a sock. You can get that designed, because we have 40 designers now, over 40. You can get that designed on a sock the day you request it. It can be live up on our website, and it can be at your doorstep within 3 to 7 days. So we went from hoping we could sell socks, thinking of what we'll sell, stocking all this inventory, and then building out our own system where it's kind of, playing with the whole Amazon system of Amazon Prime, where you type in whatever you want, it shows up at your doorstep right away. So we innovated in the sock space as far as quality and comfort, but at the same time, we had to make sure our systems were built so that we're not sitting on old inventory, and then we can react to whatever the market wants.
So let's say something cool happens, there's a touchdown, someone does a fun dance. How quick can it take from you guys saying, let's put this on a sock, to me ordering it from the website to it arriving at my door?
Yeah, it depends how ambitious our designers are that day. But I would say if it is really a good idea, I'll give you an example I mentioned in our conversation earlier, but when the whole Harambe gorilla craze happened a couple of years ago, we made sure we could use it, and we made a sock probably within 2 hours of it exploding on social media, and then the sock was up on the website within 2 hours, and then orders were going out that same night after one tweet. So probably from idea to physically in your hands, it was 24 hours to get it up on the website and going, and then 3 to 7 days to actually get the product.
Pretty awesome. And that includes international shipping as well, as part of that?
Yeah, so we outright own our own facility within the Philippines now. We've been working with our supplier there for this entire time and have done enough volume to own our own facility. And so without that partnership, we wouldn't really be able to make one-offs of a custom sock or a craze that's going off. So yeah, international anywhere in the world.
All right, so Carsten, tell us more about Strive, the problem that you guys are trying to solve, and how you've used technology to do it.
Yeah, definitely. So, obviously Fitbit came out, 10, 15 years ago and really introduced the accelerometer as far as a technical thing to people to count steps and speed and all sorts of fun things. And, over the last decade or so, we've kind of gotten stuck. I mean, people reuse this technology, they put it in high-tech bats and shoes and all sorts of stuff, but we were really interested in the core, what's the body up to? How do we get back to measuring the body versus putting something on a wrist and then trying to collect a bunch of data and trying to get some, ambitious conclusion based on whatever 3-year study or whatever it is. So we went back to the drawing board and obviously you get lots of problems there because you have to be comfortable. You got to build it into something that is, currently used and doesn't involve too much change. Obviously we have batteries and power, power is a problem. Real-time data streaming if you want to do that during like a football game or whatnot. All these expectations are being raised because they have these simple tools that can detect speed, but now they want to do that for muscle activation and all this stuff. They need to attach it to the current expectations. So all those challenges have kind of been risen to us, and we ended up putting all of our stuff into shorts because we can look at your hamstrings and quads and glutes. Those are your powerhouse of your body. 90% of your force you produced is coming from there. We correlate that with what your heart rate's doing and what you're doing in space in terms of speed and acceleration, and really get a really true picture of what that body is conditioned to do, where the limits are, and then how do we control it into the optimized training zone, which means not too far, not too little, just right, and you'll reach your goals faster, stronger, better. So that's kind of what we've been focused on.
Is that a sample? I just noticed he's got his underwear off down here, but I think that's a sample.
No, so these are Nike compression shorts. We can do Under Armour, Adidas, whatever. We don't make the textile, but this black stuff in here, we heat press it on, and then we have attachment on top here that does all your computing and whatnot, and can help really dial in on what you got, what you focus on. There's front, back balance, left, right balance. There's all sorts of consumer related things we're going to be working on over the next couple of years. But today it's really about the athletes who already know what they're doing. So we can make them 1% better, then we can probably take the people in this room, including myself, and make us 1,000% better because we really know what healthy looks like, and we know where we're going. So.
Is that machine washable? Like, do I have to take things on and off?
Yeah, that's actually one of the biggest problems going forward was we have to make this machine washable and dryer friendly, right? So when we talk to colleges especially that are doing hundreds of athletes, 700, 800 athletes, you come with a solution that's not washable, dead on arrival, right? So yes, we have dryer friendly and washable and everything. So this is, if you follow the tag, you'll be just fine. So.
Great, and I'm going to turn it down to Stati. So you're in the sales world. Sales is one of the oldest professions there is. How are you really combining this technology, and what's kind of making a competitive advantage? What do you guys do better?
Yeah, so, first question, how many people here are sending photos and videos to their family using Instagram or Snapchat or FaceTime? How many of you guys are watching videos on Netflix and YouTube? All right, so there you go. So basically, our thesis is very simple. Consumer trends drive business behaviors. And what people do in the consumer world is ultimately going to affect how we spend our time, how we consume information, how we buy, how we sell, etc. So I told you I was from Salesforce, and you guys can relate to this because one of the things that really was the mantra at Salesforce was when we were starting that company and building that product, it was all about kind of changing the mindset on how people would purchase enterprise software, which isn't very exciting. But the analogy and the mantra we would always say is like, why can't enterprise software be as simple and easy as buying a book on Amazon? So you guys obviously know those guys, and that's just a very simple idea, right? It's something that everyone can kind of wrap their head around. And so when we started OneMob, we took this similar approach and we said, well, why can't communicating with our customers be as simple as sending a Snapchat to your friend? And that was really what drove a lot of what our thinking was, because consumer trends are only getting more and more ubiquitous. These phones are only getting smarter and faster and bigger and better, and we want to make sure that it's very easy for people to not necessarily replace what they're doing, but to change their mindset and expand the way that they communicate and the way that they think about their customer. You know, it's kind of funny because if you think about selling, it all started face to face, right? It was all like knocking on doors and spending time with each other and having a very personal and a very amiable relationship, and that's what helped you sell. It didn't even matter if the product was good. It's like, oh, if I know Joe and Joe's a great guy, I'm going to buy from him. Then you had the phone, which made it easier for us to communicate, you know, further away from each other, and then you had email, which made us to do so much in masses, but all what was happening is we were pulling away that personal touch. So we feel that there's like this circle happening where now all of a sudden it's like, no, it's all about being personal, right? You talk about data. Data is incredibly valuable, but it only becomes relevant if it really matters to you. Like Amazon can collect data on me all day long, but if they can't tell me like, oh, you know what, Sethi, this is a great buy for you because we know you have 2 kids, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now that data is worth something. So for us, we want to make it very easy for you to take that consumer behavior and use it in a business setting, because then all of a sudden you can go back to those days where it was personal, it was face-to-face, it was all about building a relationship and building trust. And we think that those days aren't ever going to go away, but what needs to happen and what we're experiencing is that technology is starting to bridge that. And we think that the sky's the limit. I mean, right now we're talking about, you know, quick videos, it could be virtual reality, you know, it could be so much more, and so we're really excited to see what that future looks like.
Thanks. And so for me, FanWide, we didn't invent fan clubs. You know, fan clubs have been around for a long time, right? But what we try to do is provide a unified platform to make it easy for people to find. Part of the problem that I had as a fan, I was born in England, I grew up in New Jersey, I went to college in North Carolina, and I've been on the West Coast, so I've always been traveling. And I never found a single place where I could go to find where my fan club was meeting. You know, it was fragmented on Facebook, there's about 8,000 fan clubs, Twitter, different alumni pages, meetup.com. And so the first thing that we did as a business was we aggregated all of this information with data scrapers. So a lot of people challenge me when I say we have the world's largest fan club network for sports. But we do. We actually have more than Facebook, meetup.com put together because we sourced all of that data. And so what we're really trying to do is, you know, we kind of compare ourselves a little to Uber, right? Why do you want to use Uber when you can get a taxi in any city? Well, because you have a unified platform. Go to a single place, make it easy to get your cab, right? With us, we wanted to have a single platform to make it easy to go find your fan club. So that was kind of the first challenge that we solved, was aggregating this information, putting it into one place. And then the second piece of it was we saw there just being a lot of opportunity around the data that we were collecting. You know, by promoting 500,000 events a year, our second year in the business, when we started tracking the number of people actually going to these events, we tracked about 10 million people going to sports bars. This year we'll track somewhere between 25 and 50 million going to sports bars. And that's a lot of data, you know, that's a lot of people that aren't watching games at home anymore. That's a lot of revenue that advertisers and traditional TV networks are missing out on because they're not capturing it. So that was kind of the next problem that we're trying to solve, is what can we do with all of this data that we're collecting? How can we leverage it, turn it into better information, which adds value back to the entire sports ecosystem? So I think for all of us here, we haven't done anything new, whether that's sales, socks, bats, clothing, you know, but what we've done is really taken existing technologies and made them a lot better. So along that though, there's probably challenges that we've all experienced along the way. Whether that's, you know, some type of technology issue, whether that's maybe a licensing issue or being able to break into the sports industry. So I want each of you, could you just tell a story about a challenge that you faced and then how you guys overcame it? Who wants to start?
Yeah, I can go. It's funny, for us, we are at the same time pitching something that is widely adopted, but it's also a change in behavior. And that has become sometimes a challenge for us. So let me be more specific. You know, salespeople, you would by default typically think a salesperson is an extrovert, right? They want to sell, they want to get in front of their client, they're just trying to do whatever it takes to hit their quota. They're going to be a hustler, they're going to do whatever, they're going to step out of their comfort zone. But then the moment you tell them, hey, why don't you record a video of yourself, it's like deer in headlights. What do you want me to say? What do I do? And it's really fascinating because you start to realize that it's very easy to hide behind email. It's very easy to even hide behind phone, right? You don't have to see the person, they don't see you, you can follow a script. But when you put yourself out there, there is that whole, I don't know if any of you guys watch Seinfeld, there was that joke, he says that, people are more afraid of public speaking than death. That means you'd rather be in the grave than doing the eulogy, right? Right? So there's some truth behind that. And so for us, our biggest challenge has been helping people understand that, look, this is not really about selling technology. It's about changing the mindset. It's about changing a culture, changing a behavior, and thinking that, look, this is different. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. You may stumble on your words. You may make a video that wasn't ideal. But as you get more comfortable with anything in life, as you do it a bit more, all of a sudden it starts to become more natural, and then, hey, you're getting some good work product. So we spend a lot of time of helping people get over that challenge, because you would think it's easy. Everyone can record a video, but to make a person comfortable to do it repeating, over and over again, that's different. And it's great because we're seeing more and more people start to adopt this. And I think what's always important with anything that you adopt is just sharing best practices. So it's always great to kind of be in places like this, because when you can share best practices, rising tide lifts all ships.
And how many people are in a sales-related role? Okay, about a third, half of the room. Cool. Who wants to take the next one?
Sure. Go ahead. Well, baseball's probably as traditional of a sport as you could find. So approaching someone who might have been in the game for 50 years and suggest that this is the new shape for baseball handles was a challenge in itself. And I think we're also fortunate that our existence and our growth is coinciding when data and technology is also becoming much more accepted within the game of baseball. Well, it might be hard to change a hitting coach who's been in the game for 40 years. The younger hitting coaches who are very adept to technology and really more understanding the biomechanics of why this fits a player's hand, why it results in better bat speed, why it results in better barrel control, and having data to support that has been just monumental to our efforts with, especially with MLB organizations. We now have data to present to organizations that are leading to them really buying large quantity of bats to infuse into their development programs. But talking to that, both, I would say, foreign-born players, as well as people who've been in the industry for a long time, this was a real departure from what they were used to. And again, if round worked for Babe Ruth, why has it not changed? And so, again, technology and data was instrumental in making that change. And again, showing that increased bat speed and barrel control is possible.
Bud, you want to go next?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I think the old traditional models of just how apparel has worked in the past, where you order a bunch of inventory, try to sell it, and pray that it all clears out. That was one of our biggest problems in the beginning, and just trying to do too much at once. So it's easy to get excited about one skyline selling really well. Then you start thinking we should do every major city, and then we should do every single license. And I think as we matured as just human beings in the company, we learned that trying to do everything isn't a good strategy for the business in general. So just scaling back and knowing that we need to create a quality, comfortable product that people want to wear on a regular basis has been like a new refocus for the brand. For the longest time, we were just trying to do everything. And in a sense, we weren't selling the brand, we were just selling an affiliation of the brand. So even if you have a UW, a Wazoo, a Russell Wilson sock, that what's on the sock is selling it more than the brand itself. So more of a focus on quality and comfort and just knowing that we shouldn't be trying to do everything to appease everybody. And that's kind of more of a branding issue than more product or anything. But now turning into to technology and how it's helped us drive that message is Facebook. advertising just in general is so underpriced still. You can get in front of thousands and thousands of people for a really low dollar amount still, until all the other big guys get into it. But for the most part, we're able to test creative, any creative we put out there, whether it's some guy we just recently did a campaign where a guy ran 2 miles in just socks, no shoes. But the campaign performed horribly because it was cool and it was interesting, but it doesn't necessarily get you to buy a sock. You're more interested in the video content, and then you forget. You're like, oh yeah, I should have bought socks at the end of this whole thing. So pointing out to our features and telling people about our socks and why they're comfortable and why you should swap out what you currently have has performed a lot better. And so Facebook gives us that data to see who's reacting better to what creative, and in a sense we're able to tell our message in a much clearer way.
Anything you'd like to add?
Oh, I mean, I could spend hours on this. In terms of problems, hardware is not for the lighthearted, let's put it that way, especially high-tech hardware. But I can pick one for sure. I'd say bringing the entire experience online, right? So you create these awesome technical shorts, and they do cool things, but to get value out of that, you got to connect it to servers and software and graphs and whatnot, and everything has to be pretty close to perfect for the type of audience we're looking at. So coaches and players don't have a ton of time. They're not waiting around. You can't really interview them for hours on end to iterate with them. So bringing it all online all at once, and the balancing act has been pretty tough, but we're working through it.
Great, thank you. So I'll talk about one of our biggest challenges, and that was customer retention. Because one of the things that we do is we provide a directory where we say, if you're a Yankees fan in Seattle, go to J&M Cafe. Cool. So you do that once, do you need us again? So that was kind of the big challenge we had, right? We're directing people to a place, but how do we get them to keep coming back, keep using our app? Because we want to collect that data from them. And so the way we solved that was partnering with the bars to have them offer deals. Get a free beer, right? If I offer you a free beer, you're going to push a button on an app, right? Who wouldn't, right? We then brought in sponsors, so this allowed us to do it at a bigger scale. So we weren't working with just individual bars, we were working with larger organizations. We've even done some events with Strideline as an example, Anheuser-Busch, Red Bull. And the next thing that we wanted to do was say, how can we scale this even further, right? Can we provide an incentive that's purely digital? We don't have really any limits on distribution, such as liquor laws in different states, or having to ship a soda can, something like that, right? And so that was kind of the next evolution, which we've been focused on giving digital rewards. So last week we announced a partnership with a company called FanChain. They're a sports-related blockchain token, and they are backed by the NFL Players Association, WNBA, David Stern, the former NBA commissioner, Jim Boeheim, Syracuse basketball coach, Vernon Davis, Steve Smith, so a ton of great names in sports. And they're basically giving us tokens to go and give out on our network. And so for us, that was just a win-win. Not only do they give us rewards that we can give out, it's entirely digital, it's completely scalable, they have a great partnership network, and best of all, it's something that the fans can use as they want. So if you come to events, if you refer friends, you earn these tokens. When you have enough tokens, you can get a free beer at the bar, or get game tickets, or get merchandise and apparel. So that was kind of the way that we solved this problem. How do you get customer retention? How do you keep collecting data? Give people something that they want, something that they're going to keep spending. So one of the next challenges that I want to ask people about was, and a lot of you probably have these challenges as well if you're new into your career, is how do you break into the sports industry? For me, I was a tech guy, I was a nerd that loved sports. And so actually breaking into that industry was kind of tough. And it was that I was able to build a good technology product that was highly scalable that allowed me to do that. But making those connections with the teams, with the professional athletes, the brand ambassadors, that was really tough. So I want to ask the audience if they have any tips on what were things that they did from a career perspective, from the company's perspective, to actually kind of get through that gate, without having a father that was a former professional athlete or an uncle who was an agent.
Yeah, I can go. I think unless you come from that industry, it's all about who you know. At the end of the day, I mean, it's especially if you don't have a lot of resources where you can heavily market your product and really try to chase an industry that you may not have a foothold in. For us, none of us from our team had a sports background. So we were basically, we were looking at different companies that would buy our product, and as I mentioned, we sell to like high tech and real estate and financial services and others, and those ones we kind of were able to tap in faster because we had that background. Sports was really a combination of luck. We were at an event, and the event had a lot of different companies, a lot of different industries, and that's where I met Phil Horn, who came from Sacramento Kings, who's at the Sacramento Kings, and that allowed me to kind of just start the conversation and go from there. And then I did actually tap on my network. I had in my family someone who kind of knew someone who also worked at the Kings, and they were able to kind of just give me a little bit of another person to kind of reach out to. And as a result, that allowed me to kind of get my foot in the door. And so I will always encourage people, they say like, it's not just what you know, but who you know. That's so true. And life is all about building relationships, and I would always encourage you guys, wherever you guys go, to make as many relationships as you can and never burn them, because burning relationships have no benefit whatsoever. Even if you don't think that person is someone that's valuable in your network now, they may be. So for me, it's just about keeping your network really strong. How many of you guys have a LinkedIn page? Okay, so all of you guys should have a LinkedIn page, and you should really use it. LinkedIn has really become less about like online resumes and more about like just a networking powerhouse. Like I literally just constantly will just create content, share some sort of feedback, comment on something, just to kind of make sure I'm staying relevant. And I get so many introductions or connections through that, and then you just use that as a way to get into other industries. It's just so much easier. I mean, warm introductions are so much more powerful than cold, and I don't think that's a sports thing. I think that's an industry-wide thing. So if you have a network and you can tap into it, use it. There's no shame. No one's keeping score. Just use it, get your foot in the door, and then be able to kind of expand from there.
Yeah, I'll add to that really quickly. Just like Sati said, that we all have these phones and devices, just like us. These athletes in their downtime are on them too, and a lot of the endorsements, product placements, seedings, partnerships that I've created with Strideline have been literally sitting on Instagram DM and just sending a message to an athlete. Might sound unrealistic if you're trying to DM LeBron James. Of course, he's not. He doesn't have that much time for some regular guy, but there's been nights where I'll DM an entire roster, like the entire Lakers, and get 3 players to respond back. It's really a lot more simple than people think. DM business development too, as a whole, gets laughed at, but it works so much. Like if a company wants socks, if a team wants socks, and it doesn't have not just socks, but apparel or your product. As long as you're bringing some kind of value to the table and you're not being spammy and you're not just copying and pasting the same message over and over again, and you're truly bringing value to whoever you want to work with, and let them know that you've sent them a message or email them off of a social platform, it's a great way to get in. Nate Robinson, a partnership we've had forever, for about 5 years now, that was just directly off of communicating through social. So just like LinkedIn, I think just being able to hop in and start a conversation with someone and bring some value, I think you can easily find some partnerships that way.
Yeah, I guess I'd start with trying to determine what your value is and based on that, who you're approaching. So for example, a performance product, there's going to have to be some understanding of the benefit. And so, for example, we started at a lot of lower level assistant director of operations type positions at MLB, who were wowed by some of the data we were showing about improved exit velocity, bat speed, things of that nature. They found value in looking good to their bosses. Professional athletes, we've been fortunate with Mookie and Springer that they were both using our bat for a year. And so, with Springer specifically, he sort of became a household name after the World Series last year. It was important to me that we signed him as soon as humanly possible. The quickest way to do that is call his agent and talk money. So that can expedite things very quickly. When you do that, though, you're also establishing that foundation of a relationship really based on money, which I would strongly discourage if you can avoid it. I think having that passionate buy-in from the player up front gives you all kind of leverage in negotiating that contract going forward. And I think differentiating between whether it's a sort of performance product, on-field product is viewed very differently by agents than off-field products where you're talking more about a marketing relationship. So anyway, in terms of getting access to the player, I think what Bart just mentioned is fantastic and is a great way to start. Any kind of value you can get with the player being on board is going to help you negotiating with the agent. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the sports world is, from the outside, big, but on the inside, it's super, super small. Everybody knows everybody. There's a lot of, like, you know, different, depending on coaches and where they come from, but there's usually, like, a mentorship / family tree going on underneath. So everything's super small, but, you know, so, you know, you got to know somebody really to get into that network. Once you do, it's that super highway. So you can get to any team from any other team, basically. The way you get to your first one is, you know, you just, like anything else, you go out and get experience, you meet people, you volunteer, you just find that advocate, you need that advocate to get you the next one. Build that portfolio so that when you meet your advocates in the future that you can talk about something unique, something that, you know, gives you an edge over somebody else. Why should we be talking, whether it's front of the house or back of the house? And if you do that in the right way and you have, you know, all the other things, you know, the top 10 things you can do without talent type of thing, be on time and all that stuff, you know, put that on top of being unique and having the right experience at the right time, it'll get you far. And really, once you get in, it's pretty easy to navigate, but it is pretty hard to crack from the get-go. But doing the work will get you in for sure.
Great. So just to kind of summarize some things that I heard from all of you guys, it's use your networks, whether that's social networks, personal networks. I completely agree. And the second thing I think I heard is work your way up. You know, for FanWide, we didn't have those connections. So we actually started with a bunch of former Duke basketball players that weren't in the league. They were playing over in Europe. They tweeted, they reposted. That gave us access to more NBA players. That gave us access to more pro athletes. Now that we've signed up Cliff Averill as a brand ambassador, we're speaking to a world champion boxer, a couple of NBA All-Stars, a former WNBA Hall of Famer. So it's kind of stepping stones, right? You're not going to go land LeBron James. Not happening, right? But if you kind of work your way up, they see value and they see that it's helping other athletes. That's big for them as well, because athletes are also looking for visibility. They're looking to stay relevant. You know, they want to have endorsements, not just for the money, but they want to be able to connect with people and stay relevant when they're off the field or off the court or whatever that may be. So in some cases, monetary value works. In other cases, offering equity works. And part of that will also depend which athletes you're targeting. You know, if you're targeting younger players that have just signed a $100 million contract, you know, that's very different than someone who's maybe a commentator right now and who's, you know, looking to prove themselves again off the field. So make sure that you know your customer and audience as well. So the next question that we're going to ask about, and we'll start with our physical goods companies here. Which technologies do you see are going to influence you guys the most over the next 3 to 5 to 10 years? What's most interesting to you, and how's that going to benefit your business?
Yeah, I think just the elephant in the room, Amazon's going to influence a lot of what we do. Moving forward, you know, Amazon's becoming one of our bigger retailers in general. They're starting to do merch for influencers, for other celebrities, for people with followings. So if we can help them roll out merch in the sock space, that really helps us. And just the speed of how convenient, you know, everything is these days. We see Nordstrom adapting with buying companies like Trunk Club and subscription services that help people not only stay at home but pick whatever they want and then just send it back. So a good guarantee with Strideline right now is that if you don't like your socks, you can just send them back and we send you your money. Sorry, you don't have to send the socks back actually, because we don't want them. But if you're not satisfied with your socks, you simply get a refund. We don't ask any questions. And at the same time, that speed delivery with our custom socks. So if you have a softball team, or if you are LeBron or any big celebrity, and you do want some custom socks, we offer a 30 pair a really low minimum in the custom space. usually around 1,200 pairs in stock space if you're going through a lot of factories overseas. But we're available to offer that speed, and the turnaround's quick, and then we can design with you all the way through. So just trying to be more and more convenient along the way, and then work with Amazon to help deliver products as fast as you're getting them now. I think, just being able to deliver speed and convenience will be our biggest barrier, but we're already starting to align ourselves to get there soon.
Carson, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, ours is definitely staying ahead, right? So, obviously you got to make things, we want to make things more like clothing and less like technology, so that's the focus. And so in doing that, we have power concerns, who wants to deal with the battery, who wants to deal with all this stuff, and so a lot of our patents and IP that we have are around those types of issues, and those are every day we're tackling them, but definitely trying to get the technology out of kind of what you see first, and really getting that into you just do it every day. That's how you do. You put your shorts on, you put your shirt on, whatever it is. All the stuff you put on, your hats and whatnot. We're collecting data from all those apparel pieces transparently. So, and then everybody benefits for all the reasons that they should benefit. So that data is telling you something new, and we can all progress that way.
Anything for you, Jay?
Sure. I think when we look out, continuing to get closer to our customers is of greatest interest. And baseball is probably a little bit behind other industries that are already going down this road of sort of mass customization. How can we get to the point of allowing a hitter to go into a cage and utilizing the technology exists, allow us to choose what bat is best for his or her swing. You see 3D printing in running shoes. I can see a vision of 3D printing custom handles based on the player's hand and matching the type of barrel construction based on the technology feedback that we're getting to really be able to rapidly meet that demand with a bat that fits their swing.
Very cool. Now, Sati, what would you say along the tech services side? What are kind of the things that are going to be changing your business over the next 3, 5, 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us and many companies, I think the number one thing that everyone's thinking about in the software space is artificial intelligence. And again, what we're trying to do is make more educated insights available to our users so that when they're using our platform, when they're creating content, when that content is being consumed, we can start to analyze that data, analyze that behavior, and start to make recommendations. I think recommendations and insights go hand in hand. I mean, let's think about it. I mean, you guys, for those of you who are sellers or managed sellers, like one of the biggest struggles is helping people who are new, get up to speed, like ramping them so that they can actually hit the ground running, not in like 3, 6, 12 months, but like within 3, 6 weeks. And the best way to do that is to give them a playbook, is to be able to tell them, look, based on who you're going after, based on what the data is telling us, this is what you need to do. You need to call at this time, you need to send this type of content, you need to include A, B, C, and D, and that's a 99% chance of probability that you'll close that deal or move it forward. So for us, we are really trying to provide a personal and engaging experience, but also an intelligent experience. And for us, the intelligence is going to come from AI because there's just too much data, and we need to be able to rationalize that data and then help the reps figure out how to now take the best practices from it and then just give them pretty much like that 90% head start.
Great, thank you. Yeah, data for us has been a huge thing as well. 500,000 events, 50 million people we're tracking, measuring, doing analytics on. That's just a lot of information that we're trying to consume. So we actually have a VP of data science who's a Stanford PhD. We have 4 other data scientists on our team. 2 of them have PhDs as well in different areas that are looking to move into data science. One of them in chemical engineering, another guy in astrophysics. So data's just become incredibly important, I think, for any business that's trying to be high tech and understand how they can move technology. The other big one that's kind of been important to us that I've been mentioning a couple of times is blockchain. And a lot of people just think blockchain's kind of a sexy word. And part of the reason why we started to look at it was from an investor perspective, is that something that would attract investors? And so part of the way we use the blockchain, as I mentioned, is to give out rewards, but we don't really need blockchain to do that. Point systems have been around for 50 years or more, like airline points and things like that. But the other big benefit that blockchain provides is what's called transparency. So it means that we can't lie about our numbers. And so one of our business models is we charge sports bars for every person that shows up to the sports bar because of us. We charge sponsors for every single person that activates a deal because of us. And so by using this underlying blockchain technology, we can guarantee to these sports bars, to these sponsors, that we're giving them real customers that came through us. So that transparency, that way of us not being able to manipulate numbers, provides credibility back to our business and gives our customers confidence that we're being a genuine company and doing the right thing as well. Now, we are kind of running towards the end, so kind of the last question I want to ask the panel here is, are you hiring? If so, what roles, both technical and non-technical? And then finally, what skills would you encourage the audience that they should try to ramp up on if they're interested in working with a high-tech sports company? Seti, why don't you take it away?
Okay, well, great. Yeah, we're not actively hiring, but we're always looking for good talent. And, if you have, any expertise in selling and really customer management and customer success, that's probably the number one thing we're looking for. We have a pretty strong engineering team, but we're always looking to just, improve our microphone and get, our name out there and help our customers see more value. So it's definitely something that we're open to discussing in terms of what we'd love to see. Our business is all about just helping people see value in the way that you communicate through video. So I think for us, it's going to be people who are kind of bleeding edge, people who are kind of thinking forward and thinking about not where the puck is, but where the puck is going. And we want people to kind of have that open mindset. And then we also want people who aren't afraid, because at the end of the day, like I said, sending a video, it's uncomfortable. We need people who are not going to be kind of chained to the status quo, but are thinking about different things, who want to, again, sell and help us market and drive customer value. Those would be, I think, the most important common characteristics. And then obviously, if you work in a startup, or if you ever worked in a startup, you just need a hustle. I mean, persistence is probably the number one trait. If you can be persistent, you can do anything. And it's not a cliche. It really means like you can help us, because I don't need people who know everything. I just know people who would be okay to know that, look, I may not know everything, but I will give you my effort to understand what I don't know so I can be more effective tomorrow.
Great. Now, we have a lot of Strideline fans in the room, so Bart, are you guys hiring?
We are and aren't at the same. Like, we're always looking for external reps that work off of getting new accounts, getting new custom orders, getting new organizations to want to work with us. So we're always just online at strideline.com. You can apply to be a Strideline sales rep. That's an open position. And then we're always, especially in the summer, in spring to summer, we're always looking for interns as far as to help with marketing, to kind of, like he said, to hustle and really help with anything we've got going. But the more creative we're doing, the more video and photo we're shooting, the more intern help we need. So I would say, yeah, anybody that's willing to hustle, can sell, and is just kind of knowing that you can come in one day and do something completely different than we did the day before, because we're always shifting focuses. So I'd encourage anybody that's interested in a rep role or just an internship, just to email me, and it's just bart@strideline.com if you have any questions or interest in the stock space.
We'll probably be posting 3 positions right after the turn of the around January 1. We will be looking for sort of an e-commerce strategist, someone to help with our, we really break our organization into 2 focuses: making the best bats and revolving around R&D engineers, and then our digital marketing is really our other focus. So we're looking at adding bandwidth in the actual media buying, the interacting with Facebook, Bing, Google, so forth. And then also a digital designer, someone to help create the content that we're continuing to create, both with particularly baseball players and everyday players. So we find ourselves creating a lot of content and not always having someone on staff who's able to utilize the video content or whatever it is to the best of our abilities. Then we're also looking for a composites and microfiber type of engineer, probably looking in the aerospace industry or something along those lines.
We are actively hiring for account managers, so we have a bunch of teams in our backlog trying to get a hold of our stuff, but we cannot serve them. So account managers is everything right for us right now, and anybody who has a knack for that, or want to get get cozy with some sports teams and can really, I mean, hustling, persistence, all this stuff. I mean, this is mandatory. And then, if you can hang out with the teams and make them happy, then we'd love to talk.
Great. Well, we are actively hiring part-time and interns for sales, marketing, business development. We're a scalable company, always looking to grow, and I think I kind of echo what a lot of these guys are saying here. It's, we're a small company, we're a startup. I'm not looking for one person to do one specific role. I need people that can be broad and do a couple of different things, and again, be willing to go out there and hustle. So with that, we'll have everybody just say one final wrap-up call to action summary. I'll kick it off here and say that, if you're a Hawks fan and you're traveling, or you like a different sports team and live in Seattle, check out FanWide, and you can go hang out with other local fans from your favorite team.
Really, however I can help. If you guys, want to grab a card and reach out for whatever connections or kind of LinkedIn, whatever you guys need, I'm always happy to chat if you guys want to say something.
Yeah, same. And if you have any kids who play baseball or softball, do what's best for them.
Yeah, if you want some high quality socks, head over to strideline.com. I do have a code, I think. Yeah, StrideFam for 40% off. But also, yeah, just any career questions, anything about apparel marketing, content creation, feel free to reach out. If you are truly interested in being a rep or anything, feel free also. And then if you have an organization or all the way down to a little league team that wants some custom socks, feel free to reach out. Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, I'll start by thanking everyone. I appreciate your guys' time and attention, and it's been a lot of us talking. And two things. One is, if I can be of help, I have some cards here, so I'm happy to kind of share guidance or best practices, or just be a sounding board if you have any questions. And then two, it's funny, like we started our business because we wanted to help sellers connect with buyers, but I'm actually getting a lot of people who are like trying to job hunt, and they're trying to figure out how do I stand out when I'm trying to apply for a job. So if you want, sign up for a free trial, and I'm happy to extend it for you guys, and you guys can use it as a video cover letter. So instead of you just sending a cold email or a cold resume, you can put a quick video together, say this is who I am, this is why I think I'd be great for the job, here's my 1, 2, 3 things. You attach your resume, and it's a great way to get yourself a job or a promotion. I've seen it happen so many times with our other users, so happy to help you with that.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you all for attending. We will stay up here for a little while. I think Sati has to run to the airport. I can hang out for a little bit. I think some of our other speakers can. So if you have questions, can we stay in this room, or do we have to go?
You can stay in this room.
We can stay in this room. Okay, great. So thank you everybody for coming. We hope you enjoy the conference, and we will see you next year as well.